Hi everyone. Today we will discuss the QA process for core product data fields. This is extremely important because it directly impacts how customers perceive and decide to purchase a product. The main goal of QA is not to rewrite content, but to ensure that data is accurate, clear, and consistent across the system. In this process, all work is done directly in the Google Sheet, without using external systems unless explicitly specified. This ensures that everyone works from the same data source and avoids inconsistencies. A key principle to remember is, if you are not sure, do not guess. Instead, flag the issue and request more information. When encountering missing information, clearly document it in the Info Needed column with specific details so others can follow up. For product descriptions, the goal is to improve clarity and readability without changing the original meaning. The content must accurately reflect the product shown in images and variants, and must not contain contradictions. When appropriate, long paragraphs can be split into bullet points to improve readability. However, no new information should be added or inferred. Only basic HTML such as paragraphs, line breaks, or lists should be used. No styling or complex formatting. If the content is unclear or could be misleading, do not edit it, flag it for clarification instead. Common issues in descriptions include irrelevant details, missing key information, or unnecessary marketing language. For titles, only make minor fixes such as correcting spelling, special characters, or spacing. Do not change the structure or add, remove information in the title. The title must preserve the original wording from the merchant. If there are encoding issues or broken characters, they should be corrected for proper display. For categorization, ensure the product is placed in the most specific applicable category. If multiple options exist, choose the one customers are most likely to browse. Do not create new categories during QA. Common issues include overly broad categories or misalignment with customer shopping behavior. Dimensions are critical as they help customers understand the actual size of the product. Check for missing, incorrect, or implausible values. Only fill in values if they are explicitly available in the title, description, or dimension images. Do not guess or estimate dimensions. If there are conflicts between data sources, flag the issue instead of deciding on your own. Ensure measurement units are consistent and match the source data. If dimensions cannot be determined, use the Needs Info status. For images, ensure the product is clearly displayed, matches the description, and is not blurry or pixelated. The primary image must have a white background and show the full product. Do not use lifestyle images as the primary image, except for specified exceptions. Secondary images should show alternate angles, details, or real-life usage. Ensure images correspond to the correct product variant. If there is a mismatch between images and product data, it should be flagged. For grouping, identify products that can be combined into parent-child relationships. These products are typically identical except for size, color, or design. If differences affect functionality or usage, they should not be grouped. When unsure, flag instead of making grouping decisions. During QA, always update the correct status, pass, fixed, needs info, or needs review. Also provide brief notes explaining changes made or remaining issues. This helps others easily track and continue the work. When information is missing or unclear, clearly describe what is needed. For example, request confirmation of measurement units or variant differences. Never assume or add information not present in the data. The entire QA process must ensure transparency, accuracy, and verifiability. Finally, remember that QA is about validating data quality, not creating content. The highest priority is always data accuracy and reliability. If in doubt, flag instead of editing. The most important takeaway: do not guess. Always verify or request more information. Today we will continue discussing the QA process for core product data fields. focusing on how to apply it in real scenarios. One of the biggest challenges in QA is handling unclear or incomplete data. In these cases, the most important rule is to avoid making assumptions. Instead, clearly identify the issue and document it to request additional information. For example, if a description mentions multiple features but images do not reflect them, consistency must be checked. If it cannot be verified, flag it instead of editing. When working with descriptions, besides improving readability, pay attention to information structure. Content should be logically organized, for example, grouping features together. However, do not change the meaning or add new content not present in the original data. A common issue is keeping long paragraphs that reduce readability, which can be improved by splitting them appropriately. With titles, you may encounter minor issues like encoding errors or unnecessary punctuation. These should be corrected, but without altering the original content. If a title seems inconsistent in format but is technically correct, it should not be changed. In categorization, think from the customer's perspective to make the right decision. For example, a product may fit multiple categories, but choose the one customers are most likely to browse. A common mistake is placing products in overly broad categories, making them harder to find. For dimensions, check not only the values but also the orientation of length, width, and height. Sometimes values may be correct but assigned to the wrong fields, e.g. width and depth swapped. Only adjust when there is clear evidence from the provided data. If multiple values exist for the same dimension, flag it for clarification. Do not arbitrarily choose a value without justification. For images, besides quality, pay attention to image ordering. The primary image should clearly show the product, while the second is typically a lifestyle image if available. Remaining images should provide details or alternate views. A common issue is incorrect ordering or using a lifestyle image as the primary image. Also ensure each variant has the correct corresponding image. If images do not match the product, document it clearly. In grouping, distinguish between variant differences and functional differences. Products that differ only by color or size should be grouped. But if they differ in structure or usage, they should not be grouped. When analyzing grouping, consider titles, descriptions, and images together. If everything is identical except one attribute, it is a strong signal for grouping. Clear documentation during QA is very important. QA notes should be concise but informative. Avoid vague or incomplete notes. QA status must accurately reflect the product's review state. For example, use fixed if changes were made, or needs info if information is missing. When requesting information, be specific in your question. For example, confirm whether dimensions are in inches or cm. Or clarify variant differences. An important rule is that every edit must be justifiable. If you cannot justify a change, you should not make it. QA is not about creating content but about controlling data quality. All actions must be based on available data, not personal assumptions. This ensures consistency and reliability of the data system. Ultimately, QA effectiveness depends on attention to detail and discipline in following the process. Key message: always check, always verify, and never guess. In this session, we will focus on how to make QA decisions in complex and ambiguous situations. One of the most important QA skills is distinguishing between clear errors and issues that require further validation. Not every issue requires immediate correction. Some cases should remain unchanged and only be documented for further review. For example, if a description seems incomplete but no source confirms it, you should not add information. Instead, clearly document what is missing so it can be provided later. When evaluating content, focus on consistency across different data fields. Title, description, and images must reflect the same product. If there is a mismatch, determine which source is more reliable. However, without clear evidence, Do not decide, flag it instead. In some cases, the same product may be described in different ways. QA must ensure these variations do not confuse customers. If misleading content is found, flag it instead of rewriting. Another important factor is data completeness. A product may be accurate but still lack sufficient detail for customer decisions. In that case, QA should note the gap without adding information. When reviewing dimensions, consider whether they make sense in context. For example, a small product should not have excessively large dimensions. If something seems implausible, verify against available data. If it cannot be verified, flag it. It is important to note that not all incorrect data should be fixed immediately. Only fix when there is clear confirmation. This prevents introducing new errors based on unsupported corrections. When handling images, evaluate both content and usage context. A visually appealing image that does not match the product is still a critical issue. QA should prioritize accuracy over aesthetics. Also check whether images effectively support product information. For example, detail images can clarify aspects not fully explained in the description. However, do not use images to infer information not explicitly provided. When evaluating grouping, think from a user experience perspective. Would users expect to see options under one product or separate listings? This is a key factor in making the right decision. If grouping simplifies selection, it is likely appropriate. But if grouping creates confusion, it should not be done. Maintain a consistent approach across products during QA. Do not handle the same type of issue in different ways. This ensures high data consistency. Also pay attention to how notes are written to support follow-up actions. Notes should be clear, specific, and easy for others to understand. Avoid vague terms or lack of context. When escalation is needed, provide all relevant information. This helps ensure faster and more accurate resolution. A good QA not only finds issues but also improves workflows. Documenting recurring issues can help optimize processes in the future. Ultimately, QA combines observation, analysis, and process discipline. When done correctly, QA enhances data quality and customer experience. Key message: understand QA boundaries and always act based on available data.